Hello and welcome to our session. My name is Aaron Woland and I'm a principal engineer here at Cisco in the Security Business Group. This is my second time presenting at a JNUC with Matt, who right after we finished presenting at JNUC 2017, I think it was, I did that I needed to steal Matt from his previous employer, and now he and I both work in the Security Business Group on the Cisco SecureX platform. And I'll let Matt introduce himself as well.
Yep, I'm Matt Vanderhorst, and as Aaron said, he stole me from a customer, and here I am now. I'm a technical marketing engineer for Cisco SecureX, focused on orchestration.
Okay. So, as we start to learn how to use technology, we can begin. So, we're here to talk to you about automations, investigations, and actions with SecureX and Jamf specifically. You know, Cisco has worked very closely with Jamf in a lot of different ways. We're still counting some of the new integrations and things that are happening to try and help our respective marketing teams get a handle on it and tell the world. One of them that I'm going to talk to you about specifically and that we're going to focus on is an integration with SecureX in particular, and a new feature of SecureX called Device Insights. And instead of boring you to death with slides, Matt and I do plan on just showing you some live demos. SecureX itself, and I'll show you this in the demo as well, it's a centralized XDR, or extended detection and response tool. The important thing to note is that what it really is a platform in the sky. It's a giant integration platform to bring together Cisco's 80+ security products together, to work together and integrate together with each other and non-Cisco products like Jamf. So we'll see this a lot in the demos, but then some of the important things that you don't really cover in a demo is SecureX itself is a no-charge platform. It is something that you're entitled to by having some Cisco product licenses that give you entitlement then immediately to Device Insights. So everything we're going to show you here today is of no additional charge if you have, say, Cisco's EDR product now called Cisco Secure Endpoint, or ICE, or Firepower, or some other Cisco security product. The latest feature is something called Device Insights, and the best way to explain what that is really to show you in a demo. So in that demo, we're going to look at how Device Insights is part and integrated deeply into SecureX itself, show you how we're bringing together information from lots of different sources, including Jamf, look at the inventory table and sort it and filter in it, and start to look at the types of details that you are able to use. And I'm going to share my screen in 1 second. And away we go. So as shown in the slide, right, this is Cisco SecureX. It is that integration platform. What's unique about it, and what's really interesting about it, is the way that, like, the tiles on this dashboard that you see, this is not a SIM. You're not sending all of your logs to it and then you go and create your own views based on those logs. What's shown in these tiles is actually what's deemed important by the integrating product, right? So in this particular dashboard of mine that you see, where you see, AMP for endpoints, which is the old name for our EDR, now rebranded because we're Cisco and we like to rebrand a lot. It is now called Cisco Secure Endpoint. And with it, you start to see, in the last 30 days, these are the types of attacks that have been happening as they're categorized with the MITRE attack framework, and that we've had these detections and compromises and these quarantines that have happened across time. And we're not saying to ourselves, I want to build a dashboard and include these bits of information from logs. we're actually saying, you're an integrated product, the EDR. You tell us what's important to you for your admins to see on this dashboard. And it sends all this information across through ultimately a streaming API. In addition to having like a centralized dashboard that you see, SecureX also has the ability for you to do investigations and threat response and really start to bring together information from all different sources of your security tools and say what happened across the whole environment, right? And it's ultimately what XDR is doing for you nowadays. It also has, and again, all of this is no extra charge. You have a Cisco security license, you get access to Cisco SecureX. It also has a full-blown orchestration tool, which Matt is going to describe and demo for you right after I'm finished, where you can take action to basically anything that has an API, right? And then the latest feature that we've added into this, and where I want to spend most of our time, is something we're calling the whole section Insights. And in this particular case, we're talking about device insights. And by devices, we mean the endpoints in your environment. Since SecureX is this centralized integration point, we have information available to us from so many different sources. So you can see here, we have device managers. Here's Jamf right here. We have our EDR with Cisco Secure Endpoint, our Windows boxes, which are managed by Intune. We have Umbrella for content control and security. We have Duo from the zero trust and authentication perspective. And each of these products has in its own inventory of endpoints. And in that inventory of endpoints, it has its own sets of attributes and things that each of these products knows about those endpoints. And as a previous incident response person myself, investigator myself, and as we hear from a lot of our customers that are incident responders, they don't always have access to the Jamf console. We here at Cisco, we have almost 60,000 Macs managed by Jamf. The team that runs Jamf, and actually two of those folks are actually presenting, I think, the day after us on how Cisco has implemented zero trust with Jamf. That team doesn't give access to the Jamf console to the same team that does incident response and investigations. So the traditional user of SecureX is oftentimes that incident responder. That's changing to now include more of an IT and endpoint management focus. We'll cover that in a second. But those folks don't usually have that access to the console. So by integrating with these products, we're bringing pieces of the information in each source into this. And in order to do so, you can do it smartly, like Jamf does with webhooks, where it can proactively notify us when there's a change to its inventory. You'll see here I've had 115 notifications from Jamf through webhook. And we also do a periodic, and in this case right there, a manual sync to your Jamf instance to pull that inventory in and all the critical attributes of it. And you can see it took 2 seconds last time for me to synchronize my 9 records. I don't have any points in Jamf, but we'll see that in a minute. You can see up here, we have about 2 seconds also to sync about 73 records from our product, right? And that one also has webhooks with 64 notifications. This isn't the really cool stuff though. So as we get back here to the inventory, all right, we can see in my demo lab here, I have 65 endpoints. Maybe I want to start filtering that. I say, show me only those with Mac OS, right? So I can use these here. I can move around if I want to, but I can filter by clicking in these graphs and say, I want to see Mac OS and I want to see iOS, or I want to see Mac OS and I want to see Windows. Or I can work down the left-hand side like I'm shopping on Amazon and truly just start selecting the operating systems, or show me all of my Mac OS systems that are end of life. And I get one. I have an old Mac Mini that is in Jamf. and it's still running 10.13 is the newest thing it can possibly run. Uncheck that, and I can say, well, just show me everything that's managed in Jamf. And in this case, I'm showing that I have 2 Mac OS. Let me also add iOS now. So I have 2 Mac OS and 3 iOS devices, giving me 5 devices that I'm seeing here, right? Of my, an iPads, iPhones, and my Mac Mini, and of course, this MacBook Pro. So if we take a look at the details of this endpoint, we learn all sorts of information about it. We learn that, these are the users who have been seen on this endpoint. We learn that this is Mac OS 11.6.0, and it's a MacBook 12.1. It's a 13-inch MacBook Pro. We know the location, the geolocation. We know its ephemeral addresses, IP addresses, and the MAC addresses. We have the hardware ID, which is critical for trying to uniquely and truly uniquely identify this endpoint. We have its serial number. We know that there are no known vulnerabilities right now. And we know that there's, in the EDR, in the endpoint detection response, known as Cisco Secure Endpoint, formerly AMP, our antivirus definitions are up to date. It's not isolated. The advanced searching capability called Orbital is enabled. And I can even pivot over to that console, right, to go directly in device trajectory for this endpoint, where I can look at the timeline. Where has this endpoint gone? What has it done? What executables have run? Things of that nature. More importantly to this audience, right, as we look down the screen, I see that it's been seen in Jamf, Orbital, which is the search feature of AMP, which is our EDR, Duo, and Umbrella. And I see that this same exact endpoint, Duo is telling me, Jamf is telling me last time it was seen by Jamf, models, operating system, tons and tons and tons of information about this endpoint that we're pulling in from Jamf. However, it may not be everything. And if I have access to the Jamf console, I can pivot there by just opening Jamf in a new window. It brings me straight to that endpoint, and I'm able to now examine everything that Jamf knows about that endpoint, maybe take action, maybe push new profiles, right, and do whatever needs to be done for that endpoint, assuming I have access to the Jamf console as this investigator. We also learn what Duo knows about the endpoint, that disk encryption and firewall are on, password is set, all these fun little attributes about this endpoint have. Okay, in each one, we know when is the last time that that source, right, has reported seeing that endpoint and other things that it knows. For instance, Umbrella, I know that I'm using this particular DNS that this Mac connects to Umbrella through the AnyConnect client. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yep. I see here that in Umbrella, it was last reported to be seen on this date and time. I see that I'm reaching a certain DNS policy through Umbrella, and then I'm using a client for this machine to connect through Umbrella. And then I could always pivot to Umbrella for, which is used for content control and cloud delivered firewall and lots of really great security things from here, and go examine it further. What has this endpoint done? What kind of DNS destinations has it been looking up, and so on. Right, so I get a tremendous amount of this information. So we have the ability to do searches in here, and advanced searches at that. So we can even do like search for locks, and it's going to search user or computer that has the name locks in it. So I'll see like this computer here had the word locks in it. These had users with the name locks. But I can also do things like and not win, and have it filter that down so nothing's the string win anywhere. And now you start to see things like that MacBook that we've been using, right? So Z's MacBook Pro, it's running. This is the same system that we were looking at before. We do have a neat little user interface to make this searching easier, better. and not have to type everything out coming by the time this goes out of beta and into a general release. And we even have the ability to then save these filters and reuse them later. But that's enough from this. What I really like to do now is hand back over to Matt, who is going to go through the SecureX orchestration feature with you. And thank you for your time. Matt, would you like to take it over?
Sure. Thanks, Aaron. So I'm going to talk to you about orchestration. And SecureX Orchestration is a no-to-low code drag and drop automation and orchestration platform. So it runs in the cloud, it scales automatically, and it's included with SecureX. So one of the best things, and Aaron mentioned this earlier, is that orchestration is included in SecureX, and SecureX is no additional cost if you have existing Cisco Secure licensing. So it's a pretty great part of the platform, and the platform itself is already pretty awesome and included with your existing licensing. If we take a look specifically at how we integrate it with Jamf, we can build orchestration workflows that use Jamf APIs. So these workflows can perform investigation, and they can use Jamf as a source of data, or we can use these APIs to take response actions. So for example, maybe we want to lock a device, kick it off the network, something like that. So using all those APIs that Jamf makes available, we can use all of that functionality from orchestration. And one of the neat kind of integration points is what we call the ribbon. So when we talk about incident response, the ribbon is kind of a big core piece of SecureX. And really the point of the ribbon is to give you access to your intelligence regardless of where you are in the platform. So you can use this ribbon on your dashboard, and you can use it within a bunch of our other products that have it integrated now. You can even install it directly in your browser so that you have the ribbon available at all times. And when you're looking at a case, in this example here, I've got a case book up. One of the things you can do is you can pivot on an observable. So an observable being an IP address, a MAC address, some type of piece of intelligence, and you can pivot on those things and take actions. And in this example, we've got 2 Jamf actions to either lock a device or enable remote desktop. And those are actually orchestration workflows that are being executed. So what I'll do now is I will jump into the agenda here. So we're going to take a look at orchestration as a feature of SecureX. We're going to take a very quick look at the product so you can see kind of what it looks like and what the look and feel of a workflow is. We'll take a look at the workflow editor. We'll do a little dragging and dropping, and I'll show you those components. We'll actually run a workflow from the ribbon and look at the run details, so you can get an example of what a response workflow looks like. And then I'll do a quick showing of the Git repository. It's a pretty useful resource where we publish things that you can import into your own environment. All right, so let me switch this. Okay. All right. So this is SecureX Orchestration. And when you first log in, what you see is your workflow. So this is a demo environment, but what you'll see here is we've got 2 different workflows for Jamf, one to lock a device and one to enable remote desktop. And so if we jump into lock device, we can take a look at what a workflow actually looks like. And so in SecureX Orchestration, we have this workflow editor. It has 3 primary components, the left-hand side being the toolbox, where you have a whole bunch of different components available to you. The middle portion is the canvas, which is that drag and drop area. And then the portion on the right is the properties editor. So as you're building your workflow and manipulating the objects, you can change their properties and how they interact with each other. So in the toolbox on the left, you'll notice we have some Jamf options available. And these are actions that we wrote for this demo that we can publish in GitHub now. And we've got 3 actions available. We can search for a computer, get a computer by its ID, or execute a command. And so in this workflow specifically to lock a device, we're going to be using 2 of those. The first is we're doing a computer search. So given the observable that we pivoted on, which I'll show you in the ribbon, so we can kind of make that make a little more sense. But we can say, for example, maybe we pivoted on a MAC address. Right, so we're going to search for that computer in Jamf using the MAC address, and that's just using standard Jamf APIs. We're going to extract that computer's ID, which is just doing a little bit of JSON manipulation. And then we're going to execute a command. And what you can see here is this is how simple this is, right, to execute this command. The command we want to do is device lock. We can include a passcode and a comment, and then that command will be sent off to Jamf to actually be executed on the device. So the nice thing is when you're building these workflows, again, this is all drag and drop, right? So if I wanted to get a computer by ID, I can click and drag that activity into the canvas and go over here and say, okay, the computer ID I want. I can go through my variable browser here, use the computer ID I extracted from the search, and do a couple other things. And now, right, that activity is blue and it's happy, right? So it's a very flexible interface to build with. And then you also have logic and different things available to you as well. So if you want to do condition statements, you want to do loops and all sorts of things like that, you can do more advanced things as well. So once you have these workflows written, what you can do in this example, we're showing a response workflow, is you can use them from the ribbon. So when we go into our casebook here, this is the SecureX dashboard that Aaron also showed earlier. I can pull up my ribbon. And in this case, I've got an example casebook here with one machine in it. And I've got the machine's host name and I've got its MAC address. So if I click on this little arrow next to the MAC address, that is the pivot menu. And so when you're using SecureX, when you're using threat response, when you're even in some of our product consoles like Cisco Secure Endpoint, you'll often have this pivot menu available to you wherever there's an observable. So again, that could be an IP address, a MAC address, a host name, a domain name. And the pivot menu allows you to kind of literally pivot, right? Jump between different parts of the product. And in this case, we've integrated orchestration into that. So you now have the ability to create these custom response workflows that you can trigger from this menu. And in this example, what we could do is we can say we want to enable remote desktop on this device. So we'll run that workflow. We can see a little toast message there say, okay, that was successfully executed. We can go back into orchestration. And if we actually pull up that workflow and view the runs, we can see that that workflow executed. We can take a look at the execution. So in this example, we provided the workflow a MAC address, and we can see that MAC address here as input into the workflow. And then we can see that we searched for the computer, we extracted its ID, and then using that ID, we requested that a command be executed. And in this case, we did an enable remote desktop. Now, if we actually go into Jamf and we go under our history, and we look at our logs, we can see that that enable remote desktop was just executed on the Jamf side. So orchestration is a pretty cool piece of the SecureX platform. It allows you to really change how you integrate your products, and that can be both Cisco and third party, right? In this example, we're using Jamf. We have a huge library of content available, and that's what I'll share next. So in our GitHub repository, we have a ton of documentation available for you to get started. So if you don't know where to start, you can come here and click Get Started. We've got a bunch of videos that you can watch to learn about the platform, learn about how to interact with orchestration. But then we also have a pile of workflows available that you can import from GitHub and use. So you don't have to start from scratch if you don't want to. You can import the content that we've already written for you, and then you can use all of those things as examples and building blocks as you build your own content using the platform.
So we definitely want to thank you for your time. You can learn more by going right here to the cisco.com/go/SecureX. We also have YouTube videos, channels, all sorts of things for more content. If you're interested in seeing more about it, more demos that are in a lot more detail than what I was able to provide in the time we have here at JNUC. Additionally, Matt and I have a lot of the demo. We have actual hidden slides in the deck to show the screens that we were showing in the demo. And that is available as a handout session. So we uploaded it in PDF form with all the hidden slides. So you can download that and reference that as well as this video that you're watching right now. And again, we'd like to thank you for your time and hope you enjoy the rest of JNUC.